Hey folks, welcome back to the Life with Old Dogs podcast. So this week, we're season 7, episode 5, and this episode is called From Kitchen to the Bowl, which I love. Why home cooking, I feel, is best for your older dog or dog in general, and how to do it correctly. So let me just start off by saying that I feel that more people are jumping on the real food, whole food bandwagon for their dogs. And I hope it's not a trend. I hope more people are sitting up and taking notice to the fact that we have the highest rate ever of canine cancer and autoimmune disease and dogs dying at an early age than ever in history. And I truly believe there is a direct correlation between this species inappropriate diet that we have been feeding our dogs, and that's kibble. They were not designed to eat crunchy little chunks of whatever it may be from a bag. And I get that it's convenient. And believe me when I say, and I've said it before, I've not made it a secret, that I do use kibble also. I try to do like an 80-20 split where, maybe 80% of the time I'm home cooking, 20% of the time I'm giving them kibble with maybe canned or kibble with whole food on top, real whole food on top. Something along those lines. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. I get that. But I make a concerted effort to make sure that most of the time they are eating real whole food because it's important to me that I keep them in tip-top shape for as long as possible. So I'm a mom. My kids are all older now. They're all out on their own with kids on their own. And when my kids were little, I was running a business. I was a college student back then. I'm like a lifelong college student. And sometimes life was a little more hectic than others with, school and school sports and, club sports and houses to clean and, kids going in all different directions and kids with friends over, and you get the picture. And sometimes, it was hard. I tried to make sure that they ate well. I'm a firm believer in cooking from scratch. I did it back then. That's what my mom taught me. That's what I do. But sometimes, you know what? We were eating hot dogs and macaroni and cheese out of a box and canned applesauce because that's life and it happens. So that's how I kind of look at the kibble. Like, if I literally just don't have the time, don't have the energy or whatever, it's kibble with home cooked or, canned on top. But that doesn't happen often. So I notice more people are paying attention to this, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Really. Your dog needs it. Your dog needs real whole food. Okay, again, because the kibble in the bag is not species appropriate, and I feel it has a direct correlation to the ridiculous rates of cancer, canine cancer, autoimmune diseases, and early deaths that we are experiencing like we never have before. Okay, so one of the biggest benefits that you get from home cooking for your dog, aside from the fact that it makes you feel good, it really does. I mean, I never view it as a chore. I love doing it because it makes me feel good knowing that I'm giving them what they need to live their best life and to fight off diseases that are just knocking on their door, unfortunately, because they're old dogs. But one of the biggest benefits about home cooking for your dog is clearly improving their nutrition. All right. Like I said, again, gives them the tools. First of all, they feel good. And then it gives them the tools to fight off whatever may be coming their way. So that's it right there, first and foremost. Second thing is, if you have a dog with allergies, maybe they have hot spots, and older dogs, tend to have food sensitivities and get hot spots and paw licking and ear problems and stuff like that. home cooking for them can give you the advantage of knowing exactly what you're putting in your dog's diet. So if there is a problem, you can figure it out, okay, by like limiting the ingredients, and backing them up one by one until you can determine, oh, okay, it's the chicken that's making this dog do that, because he's not doing it when I give him beef for a week or two, but he is doing it when I give him chicken, and then you eliminate the chicken. So that right there in and of itself to me is a big win. Also, so the other thing is just the sheer joy that they get out of having something that they truly want. I mean, I don't know too many dogs who get all amped up over, overcooked, whatever it is, crunchy little balls. I have a friend who, that's what she calls her dog's dog food, her dog's crunchies. It's like, that sounds cute, but that's terrible. Like, I don't want to eat crunchies all the time. So, and the dogs don't either. I mean, they want variety. They need variety. It's mind blowing to me when I meet someone who is giving their dog kibble, and they've given that dog kibble from the first day they brought him home. And now that dog is, 6, 7, 8 years old with health issues, and they've never changed the food once. It is mind blowing to me. Okay, that is just so, I mean, does that even make sense? It shouldn't, but the marketers for the big conglomerate food companies have us convinced that that one bag will provide all the nutrients our dog needs throughout every stage of its life. That is just mind-boggling to me, because common sense dictates, hey, eggs are good for us, but we don't eat eggs every stinking meal, every day, every week, every month, every year of our lives, and expect us to be running at an optimum level, right? No. All right, getting off that soapbox now. Okay, dogs require 6 essential nutrients in their diet. Protein. That's high quality protein. You won't be giving them hot dogs or bologna or anything like that. It's technically a protein, but it's not a good protein. It's like a byproduct in a bag of kibble. You don't want to do that. Complex carbohydrates. Okay, I'm not talking simple carbohydrates. It's complex carbohydrates, like, high quality vegetables and fruits, and even some grains, quinoa, buckwheat, oats, stuff like that. Healthy fats, all right? And I'm not talking like canola oil, but I'll get into that. Healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, and water. And I just want to touch base on the water because, that's something else that can be overlooked, that, just like the kibble, we get conditioned to believe a certain thing and never question it because it's what we've done our whole lives. But especially in today's day and age, just because the water comes out of the faucet doesn't mean it's good water. We need to be responsible not only for our dogs, because they're drinking water all the time, but for us, for our families. We need to have our water tested. It's not that expensive. You can order a test online, send it away, and get the results back, and it'll tell you whether there are impurities in there or, just things that should not be in there that are really bad for you, like radon, and address it. All right. And you can address it by, either a whole home filter or even a filter on your spigot. And if that doesn't work, you can, buy bottled water, which I'm not an advocate of, but you can do that too. So water, nutrient that's often overlooked and really shouldn't be. All right. But those 6 essential nutrients are vital to our dog's overall being, especially our older dogs. It promotes muscle growth and repair, gives them energy, protects their organs, helps with their eyesight, helps regulate their body functions, and, is good for their teeth and their bones, and helps keep our dogs hydrated. So they need all of those 6 nutrients met regularly. All right. And it should be from different sources, not from one source over and over again. And as I was saying, older dogs, their nutritional needs are different than a younger dog or a puppy. For a long time, there was this belief that protein should be cut back for older dogs. And now studies have found that this is not true, that they need to be provided with a high quality lean protein, such as beef, chicken, turkey. And when I say beef, I mean like a 90-10. I don't mean like a 75-25, and it's like, yeesh, yeah, you don't want that. But the high quality protein, it helps them with muscle repair, and because that starts to break down as they get older. The complex carbohydrates, they benefit from more fiber in their diet, because their digestive system starts to age and change as they get older, and they may be subject to bouts of diarrhea and constipation and things along those lines. So of course there's fiber in fruits and vegetables. I mean, just think of pumpkin alone. Oftentimes, if your dog has diarrhea or constipation and you call the vet, they will suggest, hey, have you tried adding pumpkin to their diet? Because, that'll like push through, plump things up and push through what needs to be pushed through, and, kind of regulate the digestive system in a natural, unintrusive way. So complex carbohydrates, aside from the vitamins and minerals, it's that added fiber is beneficial to older dogs. And the other thing is, if they have, and we want this, a good gut microbiome, that is going to help their whole overall immune system again, which is what we want, because they're older and they need that added support, and that we need them running at an optimum level, once again, to fight off any sort of disease that may be knocking on their door. All right. And the healthy fats, I mean, come on, we all need that, like us too, right? I mean, a lot of this could be applied to us as well. But healthy fats, omega-3 fatty acids, essential fatty acids, they're great for joint health, inflammation, which a lot of older dogs have, and they need that. They need that. Another thing is, too, which I haven't really added in here, are herbs. And I'm big on herbs for dogs, for the Woody's Place dogs here. I have a grow tent here at the sanctuary where I store my herbs, my plants, throughout the winter months. Now it's nice. So they're actually out in my greenhouse and right out here out on my back patio. I literally have like, I don't know, 6 or 7 different herbs growing, including turmeric, which is fantastic for, inflammation and joint health and stuff like that for the residents here, and me and Mr. Woody's Place. All right, moving on. So choosing quality ingredients for home cooking. So you're doing this because you want what's best for your older dog. So I would not I don't run to Walmart and buy the meat there or whatnot, because it's typically grain-fed beef that's there. It's probably loaded with antibiotics and hormones. It's not good for us, and it's not good for our dogs. So you want to choose a higher quality meat source. We have a lot of farms around here, so fresh meat is not, hard to come by. I actually buy meat from Wyoming. There's a company out there that I'm very familiar with the family, and I know that the cattle is grass-fed, grass-finished, which is premium quality beef. I can even get organ meat for us and for the dogs, which is phenomenal. And I love that. It's expensive just because I have to have it shipped here, but someday I hope to be out there and I could just go buy it from them because it's that important to me. Same with chicken, same with any sort of poultry or fish or whatever. Try to know the source that you're buying it from. Not only for your dog, but for you too. I would think that if you're trying to home cook for your dog, that you would want you already are doing this for yourself as well. So high quality protein source. The fruits and vegetables, any fruits and vegetables or grain that you're going to use, I would encourage you to make sure that it's organic. Or, not loaded with pesticides and herbicides and stuff like that. Because again, why are you doing this? You're doing this because you want your older dog to be as healthy as possible. And, what's more deceiving than a bag of kibble is going to the grocery store and seeing this beautiful, shiny, bright red apple, and it's huge and it's perfect and it's just covered in this wax substance and there's not a blemish on it because it's just loaded with pesticides and stuff like that, right? That is so deceitful in my mind. I mean, that is like the ultimate deception to me, something that we need as a human species, and it's loaded with all this cancer-causing stuff just to make it more marketable. Little story about that. So we have apple trees, and years ago I had somebody over, a friend of mine from the lower part of Pennsylvania, out of the Philadelphia area, and they came up and we were picking apples. And I can tell you right now, if you've never been in an apple orchard, apples aren't perfect. Okay, they're misshapen. They're kind of on the smaller side. There are wormholes in them and stuff like that. So this particular person was out picking apples with me, and I was just kind of eating like as I went along, and she looked at me and she said, "Are these really good to eat?" And I just laughed and I said to her, "What? As opposed to that crap you get at Walmart?" I said, "Yeah, this is like what produce looks like when it's not all polished up and shiny and they're trying to get as, much money for it as they can. You got around a wormhole." I mean, I've done it. I'm a country girl. I've literally bit around a wormhole. It's not a big deal. And there's nothing better than a ripe, juicy, all natural apple right from the tree when it's ready to be eaten. It may not look beautiful, but I'm getting everything I need out of it. So are the dogs. I mean, I've literally dropped apples on the ground and, our chickens or goats eat them, right off the tree. So it's all good. Another soapbox. Anyway, good quality ingredients. Fats. You want healthy fats as well. So if you're getting salmon oil or green-lipped mussel or something along those lines, you want to make sure, you want to know where it's coming from. You want to make sure it's sustainably sourced and not loaded with a bunch of toxins in a capsule that now you're giving to your dog, right? So quality ingredients. All right, so we got proteins, complex carbohydrates, and healthy fats. But how do you know how much to give? That seems to be the most complex question for most. And when I talk with people about home cooking for their dog, that seems to be the most overwhelming part. Like, I don't know what I can give my dog. I don't know what I can't give my dog. I don't know how much to give of this or how much to give of that. And what happens if it doesn't work out? What do I do then? I don't want to make my dog sick. I get that. I totally get that. But listen, folks, it's like us. It's like if you have kids, or, if you have kids now, or if, you're an older mom like me and all your kids are out of the house. You have to learn what you can about basic nutrients and what our bodies require. And then when you go to cook for your kids or yourself and now your dogs, you have to, you're not trying to balance every single meal. That would drive you nuts, right? I mean, who wants to do that? That would be like doing algebra every day. Like, that's like, ugh. That's like getting a tooth pulled or a root canal. No, thank you. So I get it. We don't have enough hours in the day to sit there and scratch our heads and figure out like how much of this needs to go in and how much of that needs to go in. And, what if I'm putting too much of this in? So every meal for your dog does not have to be perfectly nutritionally balanced. So please just stop that. Stop that. I talked about it on one of the other podcast episodes about these influencers on social media. And, oh my gosh, if every meal's not perfectly balanced, it's just going to destroy your dog. Not true. It doesn't destroy you. It doesn't destroy me. It doesn't destroy our kids. It's not going to destroy our dogs. But with that being said, you do want to aim for having their nutritional needs met, like within a week's time frame. Okay. And so how do you go about doing that? It's really not that complicated. So for an older dog, this is for an older dog, older dog, you want approximately 60% of protein in their meal. Let's just say it's dinner. So you want 60% of protein in that meal. 10% of that should be organ meat, okay? And actually, I'm going to break that down a little bit further. Of that 60% of protein, 10% should be organ meat. Of that 10%, 5% should be secreting organ meat, and 5% should be non-secreting organ meat, okay? So what is secreting organ meat? All right, secreting organ meat is liver and kidneys, okay? That's secreting organ meat. Non-secreting organ meat is like lungs and heart and gizzards and tripe, which is smelly, but that's non-secreting organ meat. Right? So you want to aim for that. Again, if you don't get it in every single time, that's okay, but you want to aim for that. All right, so, and I'll put this in the show notes. 60% protein for an older dog, high quality, lean protein, of which 10% should be organ meat. Of that 10%, 5 should be secreting organ meat, 5% should be non-secreting organ meat. And again, I'll make sure this is in the show notes. All right, excuse me. So 10% of the meal should be fat. Okay, now you have to take into consideration maybe there's fat in the meat. I'm not really sure, what percentage you're using, but you do need 10% of a healthy fat in there. I mean, you can even put coconut oil in or something that simple, salmon oil, couple of sardines, it doesn't have to be like precise every single time, but you do want to use healthy fats. I'm sorry. You don't want to be using like, corn oil or grapeseed oil. Grapes are bad for dogs, so you don't want to use that, or canola oil. You could put some seeds in there, like let's see, like hemp seed or pumpkin seed or sunflower seed or even chai seed. That is healthy fat as well. So you can mix it up a little bit. And again, it doesn't have to be precise. I do not go around, measuring like everything. I'm kind of a dumper. Like, these guys get chai seeds, they get pumpkin seed, they get sunflower seeds without the shell, of course. And I'll just like sprinkle a few on top. I just kind of eyeball it. Like, I don't go dousing, but I put a little bit on top. Coconut oil, that's another healthy fat, medium chain triglyceride fat. They'll get it in, sometimes I'll just put it right in their food, a little bit right in their food. Other times I'm making golden paste for them, which is turmeric, black pepper, and coconut oil, which is fantastic, anti-inflammatory, all natural anti-inflammatory, and helps with their joints and stuff like that. So that there's healthy fats in that. So there's different sources, and you want to mix it up a little bit. You don't want to constantly just be giving them coconut oil or chai seeds or something along those lines. You want to mix it up. But 10% of their meal, should be a healthy fat. 30% of their meal, and these are just kind of guidelines. Like these can fluctuate a little bit, the 60%, the 10%, or whatever. But 30% should be complex carbohydrates, not simple carbohydrates, right? We're not cooking up like a box of, Walmart brand macaroni and putting in their food and calling it good. Nope. Not that. We want complex carbohydrates. And again, these are fruits, healthy vegetables, and healthy grains. We don't want starchy vegetables. I kind of avoid peas like the plague. For some reason, I've had, excuse me, more Woody's Place residents here who have reactions to peas, probably because there's so much pea product in kibble. Which is what they've had most of their lives until they get here to the sanctuary, that if I even attempt to put peas in like home cooked food, I end up with itchy ears, licking paws, hot spots, stuff like that. And we have 2 residents here right now who have had skin problems long before they came to the sanctuary. But I always have to really pay attention to what I'm giving them to keep them in check. It's Atticus and Brutus. They both have black skin disease, where they're missing hair. Poor Atticus is, you can see his little butt cheeks because he has no hair back there and a big patch on his side. The hair never grew back. And Brutus here is the same way. He's got like some black spots on his tummy and a spot here on his face. And, I do the best I can, but the damage is done with black skin disease. So peas, starchy vegetable, it's a big no-no. I don't do it. But the complex carbohydrates, I really like things like spinach, broccoli, asparagus, celery, carrots. I'll use green beans too. Apples, blueberries, pears. They like watermelon. I'll give them watermelon. Raspberries. We actually have blackberry bushes here around the property. They won't eat them, but I'll put them in their food and they don't know they're in there. So that's good for them. Fiber, vitamins, nutrients, antioxidants, all the good stuff. So sweet potatoes, I do use sweet potatoes, even though it's starchy, and I stay away from potatoes, but that's not true. Occasionally they'll get sweet potatoes or potatoes. Sweet potatoes, they're starchy, but I still provide them to the Woody's Place dogs on like a semi-regular basis. They all do good with sweet potatoes, and of course that gives them fiber as well, and vitamins and nutrients that they need. And I just, they like it. So, but it's in moderation. Okay. So 60% protein, 10% healthy fats, and 30% complex carbohydrates. Oh, I'm sorry. The grains mixed in there with the complex carbohydrates. So I will do brown rice from time to time, or like a long grain rice or something like that. That is not really my go-to. I don't do white rice at all. There's nothing wrong with brown rice, but when it comes down to calories, there are grains that are more nutrient dense. Like quinoa is a big one. I love quinoa. I grow it here at the sanctuary. So quinoa, that's a good grain for the dogs. Barley, buckwheat, or just oats. That's another good one. But again, you need to make sure that they're not, you need to know where they're coming from. You want to make sure that it's a healthy, reliable source that you're buying them from, and they're not loaded with, herbicides, pesticides, all that fun stuff. Okay. Other powerhouse proteins and healthy fat sources that I use regularly are sustainably sourced sardines. They usually already have the skin off, and they're deboned, and I know they're organic. And I always get them packed in water. Somebody at the store, my local mom pop store here, likes them packed in water too. So sometimes I have to buy them. And they're packed in oil, and I come back to the sanctuary and I run them underwater for a while to try to get the oil off of them. because I just don't know what kind of oil it is. And another powerhouse nutrient dense healthy fat protein source is farm fresh eggs. So if you follow along with Woody's Place social media, I'm sure at some point you have seen video or picture of our chicken and duck flock here. We have goats as well. So we do have it's called 3 Acre Ranch. It's our little homestead here. My little homestead. Really, Mr. Woody's Place probably thinks I'm nuts. Like I don't have enough to do. But I am just a nut job about healthy, organic food, and I'm really very anal about knowing where my food comes for me, but then also for Mr. Woody's Place and the residents. For instance, I was in the store last week. I don't go to the grocery store regularly, but when I do, like, I don't know, everything's just so bright and shiny and just kind of like beckons me, like for some reason, like I go there with my list and all of a sudden, Tate's thin chocolate chip cookies are like calling my name, and I put them in the cart and I'm like, oh, they look so good. And my mouth is watering. And then just reality sinks in like 2 aisles over. And I'm like, I don't know where the flour comes for this, and I don't know where the eggs come for this, and then I just get really weird, and the next thing I know, I'm walking 2 aisles back over to put the cookies back because I want chocolate chip cookies, but I need to know where the ingredients is coming from. So I even mill my own flour. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that. So, raw egg or not, yeah, can be raw eggs for dogs, but so farm fresh eggs for dogs. And I'm talking like, go to a farm and get them. There's lots of people now. If you don't have chickens of your own, that's okay. It's pretty easy now to find someone who does have chickens that you can buy eggs from. And if you can't, for whatever the reason, if you're buying them in the store, you need to really look for that organic label. All right. Cage free, free range, all that. They're marketing terms, folks. They really are. And they're not exactly what you think they are. I know of a chicken facility not terribly far from me, and they label their eggs as cage free. And when I tell you these chickens are shoved in these buildings, just walking around, walking all over each other, dying from disease. They're in fecal matter and all kinds of stuff. They're literally getting trampled to death because there's so many in this tiny, not tiny space, but so many in this space that there's no room for them to move. That is considered cage free, and it's horrible. It's barbaric and it's awful. And those chickens are producing so much cortisol because they're so stressed, and then you're ingesting that. They're not healthy eggs. So try to find a local source if you can't have chickens yourself. And if you end up getting them at the store, you don't have a farmer's market near you or anything like that, make sure they're organic. Okay. All right. So for you and your dog, you want to look for that. All right, moving on. Again, I'm not opposed to raw. It's not my thing. Some food that the Woody's Place dogs get is raw. It's usually fruits or vegetables, but just not like I don't want to cook raw. Or not cook raw. I didn't mean that. I didn't want to serve them raw. I just don't. I'm just not okay with it for whatever the reason. I'm trying to get there. I see a lot of nutritional benefits from raw, but I'm just not there yet. I cook for the Woody's Place dogs low and slow. So you don't want to cook at a high temperature at a quick rate, because then you're cooking the nutrients right out of the food, the real food for the dogs, which is exactly what happens with kibble. So you don't want to do that. So low and slow. I have an Instant Pot. I also have a cast iron Dutch oven. And typically I'll start out in the morning or, mid-morning, putting together whatever food it is that I have for the dogs. And I put it in the Instant Pot or the cast iron Dutch oven and start cooking it at a slow Rate low temperature. All right. So by the time dinner time rolls around, it's probably been cooking, 6, 7 hours. It's all good to go, and I know what's in there is healthy for them. All the nutrients are there that I set out to give them when I started the journey. That's not to say that there aren't times that I don't have time to do that. So I will cook their dinner in a cast iron skillet on my stovetop. It's still usually at a lower temperature. I don't do like high. I rarely ever even do medium high. It's typically like low medium or medium, and just allow a little more time to cook the food for them. Now, as far as actually serving it to the dogs, they can smell every ingredient that I put in the recipe for them, like everyone. Savvy, she's like off to my left right here. This morning I put apples in their food, and I cut them up like teeny tiny, like I was trying to give them to like a toddler or something. Honest to God, she ate around every little teeny tiny apple sliver in her bowl. And then, of course, Brutus ran over and ate all of her apples, but she doesn't like apples, and she can pick them all out. So if you have a dog like that that's a picky eater, I would recommend getting a food processor. You can get a pretty decent food processor for, $50, $60 on Amazon or something along those lines. I mean, obviously, there are really good food processors that cost a lot more. But if you're just talking about making your dog's food, just buy a food processor around $50, $60 online. And when you're done cooking all the ingredients, just blend it up in the food processor. Even if you don't want to buy a food processor, some blenders are really good, or even like what's it called? NutriBullet, something along those lines, and just process it up so it looks like a mush or something along those lines, and then your dog can't pick out the ingredients they don't like. And they probably won't notice at that point. I also do that for dogs like Brandy. She just passed away not too long ago, but she was geriatric and just having a real difficult time eating. It was literally spoon feeding her, like, I don't know, maybe the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks of her life. And I would have to mash up her food pretty well to like an oatmeal consistency to get her to eat it. So you can do that with home cooked, no problem. And like I said, they typically love it. Otherwise, just cooking it, like slicing it, cubing it, whatever. It's all good. I don't ever just give like a slab of chicken in their bowls or anything like that. I typically portion it out somehow. All right. So introducing the food and serving it appropriately, like the portions and stuff like that. Okay. So if you're feeding your dog kibble, you don't want to just take them off the kibble real quick and switch them over to the home cooked, although I'm sure they would absolutely love it. You don't want to do that. You got to introduce it slowly. Okay. So, start out with like, instead of doing 100% kibble, start out with like 75% kibble, 25% home cooked, and then slowly start decreasing the kibble while increasing the home cooked over, like, I'm going to say 7 to 10 days. That sounds like a safe amount of time, because you just don't want them to have some sort of adverse effect from it, like an upset belly or GI upset or something along those lines. Like, it's kind of like when you switch a different brand of food, like commercial brand food. You do it gradually. You don't just, just get rid of one bag of kibble and start them on another brand of kibble. It should be done slowly. So I'm going to say over 7 to 10 days is a safe amount of time. Decrease the kibble while increasing the home cooked, and keep an eye out for any sort of issues like a GI upset or licking of paws or scratching of ears or something along those lines. And then you'll know, hey, this is what I changed. So it's got to be that. It's got to be the home cooked. Now that leads me to the next thing. You want to stick with one protein source. Okay, I stick with one protein source for about 2 weeks. Sorry. That is not a Woody's Place dog. I don't know if you're hearing that. It's not a Woody's Place dog. Unfortunately, it's a dog here that lives the next property over, and I feel bad because it's a hunting dog and it's outside all the time. It's has shelter, but that's it. Can't do anything else about it, and it's pretty sad. Anyway, okay, so start out with one protein source, all right, whether it be chicken, beef, turkey, venison, buffalo, whatever it is, one protein source. I'm going to say for 2 weeks. That sounds good to me. Again, not 2 weeks, maybe 7 to 10 days. See if there's any sort of reaction, all right? Again, you're looking for some GI upset, some like allergic response or something along those lines. And if there is something like that, you need to eliminate the protein source. So actually it would be a protein source, a complex carbohydrate, and a fat. But stick with whatever you're making, stick with that for 7 to 10 days to see if there's any sort of allergic reaction. After 7 to 10 days, you can switch to a different protein source. So if you're doing chicken, you can switch to beef, but keep the complex carbohydrates and the fat the same. All right. So this way, if there is an allergic response, then you know it's the protein source. Once you're good with 2 different protein sources like chicken or beef, then you can start fiddling around with different complex carbohydrates. Like if you were doing, if you were doing spinach, you can try broccoli now, or you can add quinoa if you'd like, or you can add asparagus or something like that. But it's just like if you're a mom, it's just like when you had a baby and you start slowly introducing new foods and sticking with those foods for a little bit of time to see if there's any sort of reaction. All right. Again, this is to help you ward off any sort of allergies and, throw your dog out of whack with itching and paw licking and all that stuff. Okay. So, within a month's time, you should be able to have two different recipes with 2 different proteins and a couple of different complex carbohydrates and fats. All right. And you maybe want to keep a journal of all this. And, like I said, if there's some sort of reaction, you can say, oh, I gave Atticus beef on May 10th. And by May 15th, he was chewing on his paws, and he wasn't doing that before. So this way because life happens and, you may forget. Okay? So introduce slowly, wait to see if there's a reaction. Okay. But the goal is to be incorporating healthy whole foods into your dog's diet while decreasing the kibble, and then be able to rotate different healthy ingredients and have knowledge of what works and what doesn't. So after you get your dog off the kibble, how much home cooked whole food do you feed your dog? It depends. It depends on your dog's body weight. All right. But you want to try to do 2 to 3% of your dog's body weight. That's ideal right there. So, for every 50 pounds, you want to do like 16 ounces, okay, or 2 cups. So if your dog's 50 pounds, 16 ounces. You can give them a cup in the morning and a cup in the evening. If your dog's 100 pounds, you're going to double that. So it would be 2 cups in the morning and 2 cups in the evening of whole home cooked whole food. And then what you want to do is you want to watch. You want to watch to see if they're gaining weight, if they're losing weight. You want to look at their ribs, like their waistline. If they start to plump out, obviously to cut back. If they're getting too thin, you want to add more. If you have an active dog, maybe it won't be enough, that guideline right there, so you might need to add more. If you have an inactive dog that's 100 pounds and you're feeding them 4 cups a day, but now they're kind of, looking like a potato, you need to cut back. right? So it's a little bit of eyeballing there and a watch and wait see kind of thing. And again, you're going for the 60% protein, 10% of which is organ meat, the 10% healthy fat, 30% complex carbohydrates. And I need to back up a second here because you need to measure all of that by weight and not volume. Okay, so that's an important factor that I kind of left out in the beginning. All right, so let me cover real quick foods, stuff that you need to avoid in the ingredients for your dog's home cooked whole food. No alcohol. Okay, that's a gimme. No alcohol. No caffeine. All right. No chocolate. Grapes. That's a big no-no. Kale and cruciferous vegetables in large amounts. Now, you can do kale. Kale is actually good for dogs, but only in small amounts. Same with cruciferous vegetables, only in small amounts. Cruciferous vegetables could, cause some GI upset, excess gas, and in bigger dogs, especially like German Shepherds, it could lead to bloat. So that's fine. Kale, cruciferous vegetables are fine, but only in small amounts. Okay. Let's see. Raisins. That's another one. That's a no-no. Macadamia nuts are not good for dogs. Cow's milk, not good for dogs. However, cow dairy in small amounts can be okay. And I'm talking like yogurt, like Greek yogurt, really. And kefir. That's another thing that, could actually be, it actually has nutritional benefits, the probiotics for dogs, but in small amounts. I'm talking like maybe just like a tablespoon or something in the dog's food or something along those lines is actually fine. Just like a dollop, not a whole lot. So that's fine. Onions, no. Garlic. Oh boy, here we go. Garlic. Oh yeah. Garlic. Raw garlic is not bad for dogs, okay? It is not bad for dogs, just like avocado. Dogs can have some avocado. So somehow this information got out there and it got misconstrued. And then all of a sudden, things like garlic, I'm talking raw garlic, and avocado were listed as taboo. And it's not true. It's not true. But again, this needs to be done in moderation. Garlic is fine for dogs as long as it's raw garlic. Okay, you're not giving them garlic powder, minced garlic, or, whatever. It needs to be like garlic cloves, okay? And so for a German Shepherd sized dog, 70 to 90 pounds or whatever, within that weight class right there, that dog can have approximately 2.5 cloves of garlic every so often in moderation. You're not going to give it to them every day. You're not going to give it to them in every meal, but every so often they can have it. All right. But it has to be raw garlic clove. 70, 90 pound dog. It's typical size of a German Shepherd, no more than 2.5 cloves. Let's see what else. Let me just look at my notes here. Chives, that's another thing that aren't really good for our dogs. Salt in large amount, that's a big no-no. However, our dogs do need salt, so it would be some salt, just a little bit of salt, and it should be sea salt. All right, so not like I don't want to say the brand name, but it's a brand name. It comes in a blue container and it's in the grocery store and it's got a little girl with an umbrella on the on the container. You don't want that regular salt. It should be sea salt. Xylitol, that's another thing that could be found in gum. It could be found in like sugar-free items such as peanut butter. So stay away from that. Some bones are not good for dogs, obviously, like cooked chicken bones or something along those lines. So it's best to stay away from that. Fatty processed meats. I think I talked about this a little bit in the beginning. Lunch meats, bologna, salamis, pepperoni, stuff like that. Fatty pork like ham and bacon. Not good. Pork roll. So avoid those things in your dog's meal. Okay, getting back to the protein, it should be as lean as possible. It should be hormone-free, antibiotic-free. Hopefully you know about the farm. The animals should have been treated, raised and treated with care and compassion, not like factory farming or anything along those lines. All right, just odds and ends here. A couple things to remember. I wrote them down. Just remember to rotate your ingredients, all right? After you've gotten that first month down, you've gotten 2 recipes together, and you start adding on, you start building onto that, you need to remember to rotate ingredients so your dog is having all of their macro and micronutrients met. All right, that's important. That is key right there, to rotate ingredients. Again, just like us, just like our kids. We don't eat the same thing over and over, and neither should our dogs, right? Mix it up a little bit. Pay attention to your dog's body. If they're looking like they're too thin, you need to give them more. If they look like they're, becoming a potato, you need to cut back. Every meal does not have to be perfectly balanced, but it should balance out within a week's time. Okay, it's really good to keep a journal of what you're doing, what you're feeding your dog, and how much. Cook low and slow. All right, we want those nutrients to remain intact. We don't want to cook them out of what it is that we're serving our dogs. So low and slow. Calcium. So that's an important one. Calcium should be about 500 milligrams per pound of meat. Okay. And you want to do this for every meal. And the calcium to phosphorus ratio is 1.2 to 1. Okay. So 1.2 calcium, 1 phosphorus. They go hand in hand. Vitamin D3. That's another important one. We want 225 international units per pound of food every meal. And it's best to get this from the food itself, right? But cod liver oil, that's another good source too for vitamin D3. Sorry, my throat's getting dry here. Vitamin E, that's another one. 100 international units per every 30 pounds of body weight every day. Trace minerals, all right, that's something I didn't even talk about, but I will be talking about this in my nutrition course. Great sources of trace minerals for dogs are spirulina, kelp, mussels, like, that come from the ocean. That's fantastic. Bone meal, beans, molasses, blackstrap molasses, fish, and organ meat, and muscle meat too. So, and you can add, so like, if you're not sure if your dog is having its nutritional needs met, first of all, you should be taking your dog to the vet every 6 months. Get their blood checked. Make sure that their nutrients are being met. Okay, that's simple right there. You can add a multivitamin to your dog's meal to help balance it out. Dr. Karen Becker, she has a really good one. It's called Meal Mix, and it comes in a packet. The packet comes in a box. I don't know how many. I can't remember how many packets are in the box, but basically, you just open the packet and mix it in with dump it into your dog's home cooked food and kind of stir it in a little bit, and it balances the meal out. Dog is Human is another one that it's just like a little chew that you could actually put in there, and that helps balance things out. Like if you're missing some trace minerals or some nutrients like calcium or something along those lines, those it's like a multivitamin. It helps balance it out. I wouldn't rely too heavily on those though. I would rely on knowledge and making sure that their nutrients are being met from the whole food, just like us. Again, we take supplements if we have to, but really we want to make sure that our nutrients are being met from the food that we eat. All right, it's almost an hour. I'm spent. I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, you can certainly get in touch with me through this this platform or through our email address, wpsgss.org, Facebook, Instagram. We're even on TikTok now, begrudgingly, but we are. And, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. So I am working on a nutritional course, home cooked whole food nutritional course with recipes for older dogs, not just older German Shepherds, but older dogs in general. I am a certified canine nutrition, pet nutrition coach, and the course that I had taken was race certified. So that is a course that your veterinarian would take. And I got a lot of information out of it, and it's something I'm passionate about, and I read about it all the time. And I'm doing pretty good here with the Woody's Place residents. So yeah, I think the course is going to be beneficial to you as well. So that's about it. Just want you to know it doesn't have to be a scary thing, right? Cooking for your dog. Just start out small, right? Backing up, just start out small. I say this all the time. Add an egg to your dog's meal. See how that goes. And if that goes well, try chicken after that. Just start with one protein source. Start out small. See how that goes. Okay? All right, folks. Trying to think. What is up next? Next is treats. Treats for your dogs. Real whole food treats for your dogs. And I'm going to give you a hint right now. I like single ingredient treats for the Woody's Place dogs here. All right? Okay. Till next time, folks. Be well.